Who is Putin? How did he come to power? And why has he been able to maintain it for so long? This is the story of one of the most notorious dictators in the world. Vladimir Putin was born in 1952 in Leningrad, which is now called St. Petersburg. His father was a factory worker and his mother was a school teacher. Despite being born into a poor family, Putin would attend a prestigious university after high school and major in law. It was around this time that he joined the Communist Party and began working for the KGB, which was the Soviet Union's main security and intelligence agency. He would work there for 16 years and eventually reach the rank of lieutenant colonel. While working for the KGB, Putin became fluent in several languages, including German and Japanese. He used these language skills during his time with the KGB to help him communicate with foreign contacts while abroad. As part of his job, Putin would often travel to places like East Germany and Japan, where he helped the KGB gather intelligence on the West. After the Soviet Union fell in 1991, Putin's life changed dramatically. The Communist Party, which had been in power since 1917, was no more, and Russia was now a democracy. However, despite all of these changes, Putin's career continued to move forward. He was appointed as the deputy mayor of St. Petersburg in 1994, and then as the prime minister of Russia in 1999. When Boris Yeltsin resigned from the presidency in December 1999, Putin was appointed as acting president. This was a surprise to many as Putin was relatively unknown outside of Russia at the time. But Yeltsin had chosen him because he knew that Putin was loyal and trustworthy. In March 2000, Putin won a landslide victory in the presidential election. He was only 47 years old at the time and was the youngest president in Russian history. One of the first things that Putin did as president was to raise salaries for government officials and state employees. He also increased defense spending and launched a crackdown on organized crime. During Putin's first term as president, Russia's economy grew rapidly. This was due to a number of factors, including high oil prices and the privatization of state-owned enterprises. As a result of this economic growth, Putin's approval rating skyrocketed. At one point, it was as high as 89%. In 2004, Putin won re-election in a landslide. He defeated his communist opponent, Gennady Zyuganov, by 71 to 26%. After his re-election, Putin appointed Mikhail Fradkov as prime minister. This was seen as a way for Putin to groom Fradkov to succeed him as president. However, in 2007, Putin announced that he would run for a third term as president. This was despite the fact that the Russian constitution limits presidents to 2 consecutive terms in office. Putin argued that since he had served 2 full terms, he was eligible to run for a third term. The Constitutional Court of Russia agreed with him and ruled that he could indeed run. Putin's third term as president was marked by a crackdown on opposition leaders and journalists. He also launched a campaign to limit the influence of the Internet. In 2012, he signed a law that required Internet providers to store user data inside Russia. This was seen as a way to control the flow of information inside the country. In March 2012, Putin won re-election for a third term as president. He defeated his communist opponent, Gennady Zyuganov, by 69 to 26%. Once he was re-elected, Putin appointed Dmitry Medvedev as prime minister. This was seen as a way for Putin to prepare for his eventual retirement. As we all know, though, Putin would go on to break the rules once again and seek a fourth term as president. But before we get into that, let's talk about how he has been able to maintain his power for so long. One of the reasons that Putin has been able to maintain his power is that he has been willing to use violence against his opponents. For example, in 2006, Putin ordered the arrest of Yukos oil tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Khodorkovsky had been critical of Putin in the past and was seen as a threat to his power. Putin accused Khodorkovsky of stealing oil from Yukos and put him on trial. Khodorkovsky was found guilty and sentenced to 14 years in prison. Another reason that Putin has been able to stay in power is that he has controlled the media. As we mentioned earlier, Putin has passed laws that allow the government to control the flow of information in Russia. This has made it difficult for opposition leaders to get their message out to the public. Finally, Putin has been able to stay in power because he has been willing to do whatever it takes to win elections. For example, in the 2012 election, there were widespread reports of voter fraud. Despite this, Putin was still able to win by a large margin. Now let's get back to Putin's fourth term as president. In 2015, Putin signed a constitutional amendment that allowed him to serve 2 additional 6-year terms as president. This means that he could theoretically stay in power until 2036. In March 2018, Putin won re-election for a 4th term as president. He defeated his main challenger, anti-corruption blogger Alexei Navalny, by 76 to 24%. The election was widely seen as a sham, and many countries, including the United States, refused to recognize the results. Since his re-election, Putin has continued his crackdown on opposition leaders and journalists. In 2021, he signed a law that made it a crime to spread fake news about the military. This law was seen as a way to silence journalists who had been critical of the Russian military, especially those who had reported on the war in Ukraine. In March 2022, Putin launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This was despite the fact that Ukraine is not even a part of Russia. Putin claimed that the invasion was necessary to protect Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine, but it is widely seen as an attempt to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO. As of April 2022, thousands of civilians have been killed in the war, and millions have fled their homes. The international community has responded to the invasion with sanctions. However, these sanctions have not been able to stop Putin's war machine. In recent weeks, Putin has intensified his attacks on Ukrainian cities. He has also threatened to use nuclear weapons against NATO countries. As a result, many people are concerned that the war will escalate and lead to World War III. So what does the future hold for Vladimir Putin? Will he be able to maintain his grip on power, or will he eventually be ousted? Only time will tell. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you really liked it, please subscribe. We would love to have you join our community. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.